great day for Auburn, and we're excited. We really, really are. You know, the process for hiring an offensive coordinator, you know, we had a lot of moving parts. Probably the first question before you ask it, I'll answer it, you know, is why so long? And, you know, just with a bowl game and being the coordinator for the bowl game, that being a huge priority for me with our team then, combined with our recruiting efforts and trying to be relentless on the recruiting trail, and at the same time, trying to hire 2 coordinators. There's a lot of moving parts. And but one thing that I was going to make sure was that I did my due diligence to get the best man here for Auburn. And that was my #1 priority. So however long that took, I was going to take that time to do our due diligence to bring in the best man for our young people here, and we think we got that done. That being said, you know, I want to introduce to you guys Scot Loeffler. I believe Scott is one of the bright, rising young stars in this profession. I don't think there's any question about it. We're thrilled to have him here. He's got a very unique past in that obviously he played quarterback in Michigan, and at a very, very young age, Lloyd Carr brought him back to Michigan at 23 or 24 years old to be the quarterback coach. And I think that's where it starts, and that's a mouthful, and that's a tough job at a young and early age. It was very important to me to bring in somebody that I knew had a reputation for and was really good at his trade in terms of developing quarterbacks. You know, I think that's extremely, extremely important. When your offensive coordinator is your quarterback coach, that's a huge piece of the puzzle. And that was one of my very first, ideas on my list when I went to look for these guys is I wanted somebody that I knew could take a quarterback and develop him to get where we needed him to be to win championships. Scott certainly has had a proven record to do that. He's had a lot of great experiences along the way. He was at Michigan, I believe, 7 years before he took a job in the NFL with the Detroit Lions. And then from there, obviously, going to the University of Florida and getting the chance to work in that system with Tim Tebow before Urban Meyer resigned, and then he obviously went to Temple with Steve Adazio and did a great job there, winning 9 games this year. So, that being said, I feel great about bringing Scott on board. I know we've hired not just a great football coach. He's a great person. He's a great man. Relationships with his players and relationships, to not just his quarterbacks, but the whole football team is very, very important to him. He's a great teacher. We did our due diligence, and there's no question in my mind that he was the right guy for the job. When all the smoke cleared, I only had a handful of people that I interviewed, not many at all, but I had a good idea of what directions I wanted to go, and I'm just thrilled to have Scott here, and I know beyond the shadow of a doubt he's a great hire.
Gene, you just kind of talk about your, as much as you can, your timeline and how many people you might have talked to and when you came to the final decision that Scott.
You know, Philip, I'm not going to get into a lot of the detail with that. You know, I had a handful of people, which indicates there weren't many. And to be honest with you, I've always had my short list. I mean, if another coach leaves tomorrow, I got the next group of guys that I'm going to talk to, so you know, Scott was on the short list. I'm not going to get into the details other than he was the last one I talked to. That was by design, and was again very impressed. To answer a little bit about the earlier question, there's a lot of film work and a lot of board work, and it was a very detailed interview about offense and throwing the ball, running the ball, protections, things of that nature that are very important from a defensive set of glasses. So the interview went really well. Hey, here's the thing. I'm never going to put a timeline on that. I can only do things when I know that it's the right thing. And when it's the right thing, then that's when we're going to make the move. So Without question, it was the right thing, and we expedited everything pretty quickly. So, again, that's about all I can tell you.
That having been said, you know, you mentioned when we met Coach Van about as soon as possible. With signing day coming up in 9 days, did you feel like you needed to go ahead and get
Well, you know, as I said earlier, I mean, the common sense answer to that is the sooner the better for signing day. I'm looking at the best thing for all of them. I'm not looking for this date, or I'm looking for, I've got a room full of 100 kids. And my #1 goal is to make sure that they are coached and given a chance to develop and succeed by the best. So, is recruiting important? Heck yeah, it's important. But my most important objective was to get the right guy for Auburn and these 100 guys I've already got in this room. And so, you know, luckily we were able to do it within a week, but that was not a deal breaker. It was not a deal breaker. So, I'm always going to do, in my opinion, what I think is best, when the time is best. And, you know, sometimes that's not always your desired timetable, but the desired timetable for me is the right time. And when I know that I've done what I need to do. So I feel great about it.
Gene, both your coordinators have experience in the SEC previously and in the NFL. Was that a big factor in your decisions to hire them?
You know, yes and no. I mean, Mark, I think when you go out to hire guys, there's just certain things that you're looking for. You know, with Brian, I had a previous relationship. I knew him very well, and I know his reputation is second to none. So that was a little bit different than the offensive coordinator, because some of the ones that I had as a handful, I did know. Some I didn't. And but you know, I was just wanting to make sure that I did my due diligence. Now, the fact that they've been in the SEC and had those experiences, the fact that they've been in the NFL and had those experiences, do they help? Well, absolutely, because it's part of their journey. I think it's really big that I hired Scott, and Scott has played the position of quarterback at its highest level. He's been around national championships. He's coached some of the best quarterbacks that are out there. And all of those things matter. So to answer your question, yeah, I like the idea of that, but that wasn't necessarily, what drove this search.
Gene, did you know him before this search? I mean, was he someone you met at meetings?
Well, yeah, we met. Like he said, when I was at Texas, Scott came and spoke to our coaches, high school coaches at our clinics, and we've passed, our ships have passed in the night. So we've met and we've known each other in that regard, but not to the degree that that I knew Brian. A little bit different. So, in this coaching profession, you run across people all the time. It's kind of that fraternity of people that you know. And I knew that Scott had a great reputation. And again, it's about getting on the phone and calling people from the NFL to the SEC to everybody in between. And before you even decide that he's a guy you're definitely going to talk to. I mean, you do your due diligence that way first. And then everything else fell into place.
When you were kind of getting that scouting report on him from your associates in the business, what did they say about him? What was the thing that kind of perked your interest?
A brilliant football coach in terms of what he knows X's and O's. Really great in relating with players and being able to, again, which was one of the most important things for me, was being able to develop a quarterback. And as we know in this league, and to win anywhere, you got to be able to develop quarterbacks. And so there was no question, everybody that I talked to basically sang the same song. And that was from NFL guys to college guys and anybody that had been around him. And so again, I had a great comfort level before we ever met and started talking about the details of football, Auburn philosophies, and things of that nature.
Take a few more.
Gene, for the last 3 years, Auburn's had a pretty distinct offensive identity. Is going forward, is there going to be a little bit more flexibility, particularly as it relates to the hurry up and going super fast all the time?
Well, I think Scott touched on that a little bit. You know, here's our situation at Auburn right now. We're going to come back in. This is kind of a new beginning for us, if you will. It's a new beginning, and we've done a really, really nice job recruiting here in terms of the last 2 years of getting 2 top 5 classes. We have some good football players on this campus. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and evaluate, and I'm going to let Brian take the defense, and we're going to evaluate together what we have, who we have, and then come up again with defensively exactly what we want to do, how we want to do it. Brian's been a 4-3 guy. I've been a 4-3 guy. We don't anticipate that changing. But when you talk about sub packages, meaning nickels and dimes and things of that nature, you know, depending on the personnel we got, you know, that's how we'll proceed. Offensively, Scott will sit down and do the same thing. We'll look at our personnel. We'll see what we've got. Scott has been really blessed to be around a variety of offenses that have all been successful. So, and you know, everybody's going to talk about spread and pro. I don't even know what those are anymore. I mean, I really don't. I don't know, you know, pro offense, but they're in one back every time, and you know, but this is a spread, but they're running the counter and the power and the ISO. So I think all of those terms that we use these days. I'm a defensive guy, and I can't even tell you what they are. You know, and so you know, all that, what they're called, and how, that's all overrated. It's real simple on offense right now. Create the offense to have the flexibility to use your best players, get your best players the football, protect the ball, coach your quarterback, make sure you're giving yourself a chance to win by not turning the ball over and scoring some points. So you can call that offense whatever you want to call it. We're going to get our people in the right spots, put them where it fits offensively, and then we're going to go with it.
Anything else?